Welcome to the ProTips video series designed to arm biology learners with background knowledge needed to succeed during upcoming lessons. I'm Professor Workman, and today we focus on a data analysis skill used by biologists: correlations. Consider these data pairs: taxi fare and distance traveled, children's height and their age, years of education and starting salary. Notice in these examples that there is a relationship between the two types of data. The farther the taxi takes you, the more expensive the fare. As children get older, they grow taller, and your expected salary is higher if you begin with more years of education under your belt. In these examples, the data rise and fall together in the same direction. As one gets bigger, so does the other. Or another type of relationship may exist between data pairs. Perhaps as one rises, the other predictably falls. Some examples include cigarettes smoked per day and the person's life expectancy, or the proportion of people in a society who are vaccinated against COVID-19 and the daily number of new cases reported at hospitals. In these examples, as one type of data increases, its pair is expected to decrease. This brings us to our key term, correlation. A correlation is any relationship between two types of data or two variables. Whenever one variable, like a child's age, predicts the value of another variable, the child's height, the data are said to be correlated. By graphing two variables against each other, it is possible to assess the direction and strength of the relationship linking correlated data. First, let's discuss how to describe the direction of relationships linking two variables. Consider the example of children's height versus age. When we graph the data presented in Table 1, children's age versus children's height, we get the correlation plot on the right. Notice the trend of increasing height as children get older. This type of relationship, wherein two variables move in the same direction, is called a positive correlation. So in this case, both variables are increasing together, but it could also be the case that they decrease together. As children's ages get younger, they are shorter. Now imagine a situation in which variables move in opposite directions. Consider the balance of a student's savings account versus the number of days since school started. Assuming the student spends more money than she earns because school's expensive, the bank account dwindles over time. This type of relationship between two variables, when they move in opposite directions, is called an inverse or negative correlation. As the number of days since school started increases, the bank account balance decreases. To recap, correlations may be positive or negative. Positive correlations result from variables moving together in the same direction. As one increases, so does the other, or as one decreases, so does the other. Negative correlations, on the other hand, result from variables moving in opposite directions. As one variable increases, the other decreases, or as one variable decreases, the other increases. You may wish to pause the video here to brainstorm examples of positive and negative correlations in your daily life. Now let's consider how to describe the strength of a relationship linking two variables. If the relationship linking the variables is strong, it means that the value of one variable accurately estimates the value of the other variable. In contrast, if the relationship linking the variables is weak, it means that although you may estimate the value of one variable based on the value of the other, your estimate is going to be a little off. Weak correlations allow ballpark predictions, while strong correlations allow precise predictions. It is easy to judge the strength of a relationship by examining the correlation plot, graphing one variable against the other. When strong correlations are graphed, the data points, all of the dots, fall in a tight line. In mathematical terms, this indicates that the equation of the line provides a precise predictive framework linking the two variables. In this example, it makes sense that the overall cost of restaurant cheeseburgers should greatly depend on the price of beef. Notice how the data points fall exactly on the line. By contrast, if two variables are only weakly correlated, there is a lot of wobble among the data points. In other words, while still falling in a line more or less, the data points are distributed more widely. In this example, it makes sense that the overall cost of cheeseburgers should depend a little on the cost of mustard, but it also makes sense that cheeseburger prices depend on outside factors like the cost of beef or cheese. Therefore, it is not surprising that mustard prices only weakly relate to cheeseburger prices. In other words, mustard price imprecisely predicts cheeseburger price. Compare figures 1 and 2. Notice that the mustard data points in figure 2, which is on the left, are more spread out than the beef data points shown in figure 1 on the right. This difference in the spread of data points is the hallmark distinguishing strong versus weak correlations. There is a third option when considering correlations, which is that there is not a relationship between the two sets of data or between the two variables. When two variables are unrelated, there is no correlation between them. When graphed against each other in a correlation plot, as you see here between shoe size and hours of sleep, the data points look like somebody sneezed. Data points are distributed randomly with no discernible shape or pattern. This is the hallmark of a zero correlation, meaning that no correlation exists between a person's shoe size and the number of hours they sleep on average per night. So it is possible to assess the direction and strength of the relationship linking correlated data. To check your understanding, describe the correlation you predict exists between the following pairs of data. Number 1, weight and height. I predict that there is a weak positive correlation between these variables because as people get taller, they tend to weigh more. That's a positive relationship because the variables travel together in the same direction. But because some people are thicker or thinner at the same height, I suspect this is only a weak correlation. Number 2, cancer risk and age. Because older people tend to get more cancer than younger people, I predict that there is a strong positive correlation between these variables. Positive because as age increases, so too does cancer risk. They go up together. And strong because of my knowledge that older adults are much more likely to get cancer than younger people. Number 3, the price of fabric and the price of shirts. I suspect that shirts become more expensive at the store as the cost of their fabric gets more expensive. This is a positive relationship. Shirts made out of costlier fabrics are priced higher at the consumer end. And thinking about silk versus polyester, I also think this is likely a strong correlation. By contrast, consider number 4, price of thread and price of shirts. While the price of thread may figure into the overall price of shirts, I suspect there are other factors that also contribute to shirt pricing on the consumer end. So I predict that this might be a weak positive correlation. When you observe a correlation, you don't necessarily know why the two variables are linked. Without additional context, it is not appropriate to infer that one variable causes the other. In the beef and cheeseburger example, it made sense that beef prices would impact cheeseburger prices, but a causal relationship like this is only one type of correlation. Alternatively, consider the size of a bird's beak and the size of its feathers. Does one variable cause the other? No. It would be incorrect to infer that beak size causes feather size. Nevertheless, these features are positively correlated in birds. But this relationship exists due to a shared underlying genetic cause that makes all features match the bird's overall body size. Lastly, correlations may exist by random chance. These are called spurious correlations. You can look up some comical examples by searching spurious correlations online. In summary, you learned that a correlation is any relationship between two sets of data, or two variables. Correlations have direction. Positive correlations are when two variables move in the same direction, whereas negative correlations are when the variables move in opposite directions. And you also learned that correlations have strength, either strong, weak, or if there's no correlation, zero. Strong correlations have a high predictive power, while weak correlations have a low predictive power. And of course, zero correlations, meaning no correlation exists, has absolutely no predictive power at all. You also learned that correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, you might consider watching other videos in the series. Here's my contact information, and I always welcome any feedback. mworkman@pima.edu. Good luck in your biology journey.